We have of course discussed a few times the rumours surrounding the next upcoming Assassin's Creed game. As we all know, it took a much needed break last year, but rumours have it that it is set to return this holiday. And of course, E3 is looming very, very fast on the horizon, meaning that it's not going to be too long before we find out whether or not it is indeed returning. Now, of course, a lot of the rumours have been focused around the next game being set in Egypt and going by the working title Assassin's Creed Empire. Now, of course, that rumour came from Kotaku, but now we have some new rumours thanks to WWG. And apparently, their sources say that the game is actually called Assassin's Creed Origins and is actually slated to be revealed at E3 2017. However, despite the change in name, their rumours are still saying that the game is going to be taking place in ancient Egypt, and as the name would suggest, it's going to be a prequel of sorts. It's rumoured to centre around the original Assassin's Guild, and it's going to be doing the same thing as Syndicate by having two main characters, a man and of course a woman. Now, hardly surprising to say that their rumours are also saying that it's going to be an open world, you know, massive open world, yada yada yada. That's not really a rumour at this point, you know. I'll be very, very surprised if suddenly Assassin's Creed became some sort of like linear corridor shooter or something like that. So, you know, while these details are coming from unnamed sources, I think we could take it as read that the game is going to be a vast open world experience, quote unquote. Now, despite this, you know, Assassin's Creed has kind of gotten quite stale recently, and of course several people at Ubisoft have spoken on how they're hoping to change this, with methods changing in storytelling and how they deal with the world and obviously gameplay and so on. And apparently there's going to be a character progression system this time around that is going to be a lot less tied to the story, which is pretty interesting actually, because obviously a lot of the time in the past, yes, you can kind of get some skills or whatever just by doing like side quests or whatever, but a lot of the time key abilities or whatever, or weapons even, will be locked behind certain story events, and it seems like that's going to be not going to be the case, or at least less the case. And apparently the source that they were speaking to compared it numerous times to Skyrim. Now obviously, do they mean in terms of scale? Do they mean in terms of the world? Do they mean in terms of the characters? I mean, you know, Skyrim was a great game, but it had a lot of issues, which is why this comparison is actually a little concerning, because one of the things that bothered me about Skyrim is, you know, you're this dragon-slaying badass who's saving the world, but, you know, the people in this town, they treat you like crap and you get arrested for picking up someone's cup without their permission and other stuff like that. You know, the world doesn't actually really reflect your actions in any real meaningful way, so I hope they're not taking that part, because that would actually be, you know, not brilliant. Now, apparently there's going to be also a greater emphasis on exploration, and it's also going to be apparently the biggest Assassin's Creed game they've ever created, and apparently the scope is huge. Now, what does that mean? I hope it's not just a huge map, because honestly, huge maps are overplayed. I would much rather have a smaller map that is more filled with stuff. And I actually mean meaningful stuff, not collect 100 boop-de-boos or, you know, scarabs or whatever the fuck it's going to be. You know, I want meaningful content. I don't want a huge map full of vast arrays of absolutely fuck all, thank you very much, Ubisoft. So hopefully they mean in terms of the scope of the content, rather than, hey, we've got a map that's the size of, like, you know, a pancake that's been trodden over a million times by a tank or whatever. So, is this, you know, despite my slight sarcastic tone and ribbing of the series that I do still love, despite the fact that it has fallen off the wagon as of late, these are sounding like good things, with the more freedom, more exploration, less tied into the story, less, you know, following the tropes of the series. It sounds like they have taken the time off to be like, okay, this game is getting a little stale, what can we do to revitalise it? One last thing that I will discuss is that apparently, even though the game is set in ancient Egypt, apparently you're going to be able to go beyond the borders of Egypt, possibly even as far as Greece, and apparently boats are going to be returning, and we will see a return of that awesome naval combat, which, if that's true, you can colour me a very happy camper, because Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is one of the best games in the series. It doesn't have Ezio in it, and the boat sections of that game were outstanding. The land-based ones, you know, pretty standard Assassin's Creed fare, but the rest of the game, you know, the pirating, all the boat stuff, that was awesome. So if that's true, Assassin's Creed Origins or Empire or whatever it ends up being called is sounding pretty damn tasty. So the source for this is in the description below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm hedging my bets with a little dash of cynicism because, you know, Ubisoft love to talk big with promises, and yes, this isn't official, I know, but still, you know, come on, let's just take it all with a pinch of salt and a pinch of looking back at the series and how it's kind of fallen off the wagon over the last few years. I would love for it to return to form with a great game, because Assassin's Creed 2, fantastic, one of my favourite games ever, same for Assassin's Creed 4, and, you know, see it go down the way it has, it's not brilliant. So let's hope that all these promises actually come to fruition and that Assassin's Creed Origins or Empire or whatever ends up being the Assassin's Creed that we all deserve. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.